we had to go in this little bitty cramped spot that, I kid you not, probably from the floor to the bottom of this table, if not maybe a little higher, is how much room we had. There was a small little square hole that we had to crawl inside in order to reach that spot. It wasn't that it was that tough. It was the fact that it started raining. All of a sudden we're working and I'm just covered in mud. It's just the craziest. Like, it won't stop raining. I remember us being under the house and I can literally see our only exit is just getting flooded in. And I'm watching it. I'm looking at Dennis. I'm like, so we're just going to stay. We're just going to stay here. And he's like, yeah. I mean, you like swimming, right? And I'm like, dude, what?
Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. When you were growing up, did you ever think you would be doing what you do today?
No, not at all. Not even close. I was the oldest out of 6. And, you know, obviously Hispanics have like a big family. So everybody basically likes to just give you a job when you're a kid. Like, oh, he's going to be a doctor, or he's going to be, a game engineer. My mom used to always watch me color and, just draw all the time. That was like my big thing I like doing. And she would always just kind of make this little comment like, oh, I can't wait to watch you basically draw for like Disney one day, and I did that and I got into, arts and stuff like that. But at the end of high school, I was kind of burnt out from just school. I felt like I had to prove something since, again, I was the oldest and everybody just assumed, college this and college that. I was like all AP classes and I had to make sure I had the best grades. And I think by the end, the thought of just more of that just kind of made me feel more burnt out than I've ever been. And so I knew I wanted to do something. I just wasn't sure exactly what yet. And, like any other teenager, sometimes you just don't know what you want. You got to do something and the anxiety kind of hits you and you're like, I got to do something worthwhile. So here I am, at a warehouse job thinking like, well, at least I'm doing pretty well here, because here I am at 19 and I somehow went up the ranks where I'm literally supervising 30 and 40-year-olds. And at first, the position kind of got in my head and I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm doing great. Look what I'm doing. It's awesome. And one day I hired my buddy to work with me and it was fun. It almost felt like we were getting paid to have fun at work.
You bet.
Which was awesome. Then one day he basically looked at me, was like, hey man, I'm about to put my 2 weeks in. I'm like, why? We're literally having so much fun and we're getting paid for it. And he just goes, well, like, I need a career. I need to actually, do something. That's when he basically got into it with his dad and his career choice, which that's pretty cool. He did this thing where you basically software engineering, like with computers, to where they cut out metals that are used in hospitals, such as scalpels and, needles and everything. And so watching him go kind of like made me go, you know what, we need to do something. And trade was probably the thing that really saved me. I looked into, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, and I noticed the ratio of people who are and this is nothing wrong with college, nothing wrong with getting your higher education. That's amazing. I think, those who decide to do that, power to you. But I've had half of my friends tell me how they're still struggling with paying off their student loan debt. And I think that's what also scared me, is because, again, growing up with 6 other siblings or 5 other siblings, you're told at an early age, like, hey, if you want to go do college, it's all on you. Like, we can't help you at all. Right. So you got to figure it out. And so that was just another kind of aspect of me kind of going, well, then we really are going to have to be on our own and take care of it all. And so that's kind of what made me go, well, what else is there? So I found trade and I noticed that the first thing that kind of caught my attention was when you go to trade, it literally pays itself off within like the first couple months, if not like the first year.
And you say pays itself off. You get paid the day you start.
Exactly. It's so cool that you literally get paid while learning the craft. And by the time you actually know what you're doing, not only is everything already paid off, you're already ahead of the game. Honestly, I will never forget the conversation I had with a customer maybe about 2 months ago. And it was a simple little, simple job that we did over there that day. Maybe it took a couple hours. It was me and my partner, Ed, at the time. And, I spoke to the customer and he was kind of freaking out. Like, there's a lot of money. Like, it was very expensive today. And when you're in the trade for so long, you're kind of accustomed to certain numbers. And, it's one of those things I've seen people spend X amount. I've seen some people spend a little X amount. So when he was telling me like, oh, this is crazy, like this was so much money, in my head, I'm kind of like, well, I mean, yesterday, so-and-so paid like 40 grand for something and he didn't bat an eye. Here we are doing something for like 4 grand and he's losing his mind. But I get it. Everybody has their own trials and tribulations. And that guy was telling me, basically, he's 45 and he told me that he still owes around $30,000 in student loans. And he says that it was so hard to find a job right after college, right after graduating. It was so hard to find a job. He literally went to Japan to try to find a job. And I'm like, oh, so you speak Japanese? He's like, not really. Oh, what did you do over there? I taught English over there. It made no sense to me, but he made it work. And he found a lovely wife. And, now they have, 2 beautiful children that, were just running around the house. The house was paid off before he even, really lived there. There was his parents' house. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, if you don't even have a mortgage, you should just knock this loan out of the park, right?
No doubt.
But apparently not. He's still struggling with this debt. And I think that kind of just made me really appreciate the trades a lot, because not only is it something that you can use day one, I can tell you right now, I've never felt so helpful with my family until, I joined the trades. If they have a problem, I'll go look at it. If there's something they don't really understand, they call me. The coolest feeling was when my grandparents' AC broke down, and literally I went over there right after work, and I was able to put in a whole new condenser within like a frame of like an hour and a half, just kind of doing what I had. They were all just around me, watching me. And here we are like 12 o'clock at night, and they're all like, oh my God, he's so fast. And, it was really cool showing them what I've learned throughout the years and just how, I guess, how well I can do it, if that makes any sense. And it was just such a proud moment where they were just like, dude, like we never even knew we had someone like this in the family, And I feel like, again, much kudos to those who chose a different path, but just being able to put my hands on something and be able to like make it work and help them in their time of need like that, it really made me feel very confident in my decision of joining the trades.
So it's a neat feeling.
Very much.
And one thing I want to ask you, you talk about this 40-year-old man, 30-year-old man still owes a ton of money in college debt. And you've got friends you went to high school with still paying off college debt. Don't you think if college debt was that valuable, people just pay it off?
It's one of those things where when you think about it, like on paper, like, dude, like, of course, aren't you going to just put everything on that and pay it off? And then I speak to them, again, like I have a friend of mine who personally, he'll tell me like, oh, well, I still have to do this. I still have to do that. And I tell him, well, how come you don't just pay it all off? And his answer is, well, just sometimes I just don't even want to think about it. Like, it's such a scary number. It's so intimidating. I'd rather just not look at it. And I feel like that's another problem with that issue. I mean, if we could redo it, I think maybe we could figure out a different way where it's not so intimidating. I don't know.
Our current government's talking about forgiving all the student loan debt, which is trillions of dollars. They're not talking about doing that for tradespeople that go to trade school, and those guys are paying off their loans. You don't hear about how much money they owe because they're paying it off. It's like, hey, dude, that was worth it. I got an education. I make money. I'm paying my bills.
My field supervisor, Bobby, when I first bought my tools, I was kind of like, man, like it was pretty expensive to buy all these tools. And he gave me this look like, what are you talking about? This is like the best investment you're going to make all year. You know, this money is going to come right back at you. And if not, it's going to give you even more. The difference is when you pay for classes or education for trade, it's almost like buying a tool. It really is going to pay it forward way in the future. And I feel like it may not be the same the other way around. So
yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
So tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name is Melvin Viera. I go to Rescue Air. I'm a lead installer and been there for about 3 years. I love my job. I love the people I work with. I'm the oldest of 6, as we know. Recently just got a house, and me and my girlfriend are, we're going to move in, and, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. Planning on popping the question soon.
Uh-oh.
Very excited.
Maybe she doesn't listen to this podcast, so it catches her by surprise.
Listen to this.
Everybody talks about you because I've known you for 2 years now.
Yeah.
You're always smiling. You're always laughing. You're always happy.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why are you always happy?
I mean, it sounds, I don't know how to make this sound not weird. I had a music teacher back in elementary, and she was an older girl, and here you have like 20 rambunctious, like 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds just running around, and she's just laughing. And sometimes she'll turn red when we're not listening, and she'll just start laughing. And I ask her, and I'm like, Miss Holmes, why are you always laughing when I figured you'd be mad? And she gives me this look like, oh, if I wasn't laughing, I'd be screaming at you. And after that, I was just being like, that is so funny. I'm going to do that. And so whether it's, good or bad, sometimes you just got to laugh it off. Because I think the fact that, God woke me back up, gave me this amazing job, amazing people. I mean, what's not to love?
Life's pretty good.
Exactly. We're in the attic. Sometimes it's horrible. It's hot. It's tight. We just had a job the other day where me and my partner were there until like midnight. And literally you're crisscross applesauce, sitting down, trying to avoid the little nails in your head from the roof. But at the end of the day, I got to go home, a very comfortable bed, full of a house that people that love me. And I'm like, dude, like this is the life. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
It's a cool deal.
Yeah.
Oh, it really is. I like that. I tell people every day, I'm living the most amazing life I could have ever imagined. and I feel that way. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
So you're an HVAC installer.
Yes, sir.
People will tell you when they walk into an HVAC company, that's the job they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot.
Yeah.
It can be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just in an attic at midnight. You get in there at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
You're there at noon. You're there at 3 in the afternoon when it's in Texas 100, 105 degrees sometimes, especially during y'all's busy season.
Oh, man, yeah. I was just telling that to my coworker yesterday. His name is Jose, and he just recently started with us. And I was asking him the same questions, like, what made you want to do this? And, he gave me his answers. And he told me, is it hard? And I'm like, well, I can tell you one thing. You're going to have easy days like today where all we had to do was, fix like a vent pipe. But, you'll have days where you're exhausted, you're kind of at your wit's end, and you get a text message at like 10 o'clock at night saying, hey, you're going to have to do this all over again tomorrow, and it's going to be somewhere like in Saxe, an hour drive.
Oh, don't say nothing bad about Saxe. Right? That's my hometown, so be careful there. Careful there.
Far places, definitely not down the block from the shop, which is what we love. But it's just another thing to kind of add on to like the, all right. But I think what people see when they look at the install department is, obviously everybody goes to work because, we all need to make a living. And the install department definitely, I guess, shows that it's a really good living. But I think most importantly, what they see from the outside is just the camaraderie of the install department. Like I was saying earlier, my guys, they're so funny. Literally every day they'll make me laugh, whether it's like intentional or not. It's nothing but just a bunch of guys just joking around because we all know what the job does. We all know how hard it is and how tough it can be mentally, physically, emotionally. We've had days where I've had to talk my buddy off a cliff from just, leaving the job site because like I'm done, I'm tired, nothing's working out. And I've had to tell him, dude, look, just sit down, let me go back up there and we'll come back in 5 and then we'll see how we're doing, But they don't see that. They just see us having each other's back. They just see the brotherly love that we have. And I think they want to be a part of that, which I don't blame them. I wanted to be a part of that. That's what I saw before I joined. And, there's nothing better than looking at your partner and going, you got my back. And he's looking at you like, I got yours if you got mine. And by the end of it, no matter how tough of an install it was, you walk away going, we did that. We totally just knocked that out. And it's such a good feeling. It just makes everything worth it. So
I like that. If you're enjoying the Trade Talks, hit that subscribe or follow button, which helps us produce this awesome blue-collar content absolutely free. And now, back to the episode. You tried to decide to get into HVAC, plumbing, whatever trade it was. What made you pick HVAC?
It was the fact that when I look at HVAC, I think of the phrase, help me out. How does it go?
Don't know which phrase you're talking about.
Jack of all trades, but not a master of one, or master of none.
Yeah.
But it's better than just a master of, one, because that way you at least touch everything. So I remember talking to Joe once in the break room, and he was telling me that he loves HVAC because he gets to kind of touch up almost everything. We do electrical, and we also, obviously, we do HVAC, and then sometimes we'll go in, we'll tap, we'll touch. I'm not going to say we do plumbing.
Boy, I'm not call you out. I will call you out.
We definitely knock on the door. We don't open the door, but we knock on the door. It's just cool to know that we can kind of at least look at everything, at least above ground. After that, that's for sure plumbing. I have no clue what I'm doing, but at least above ground, I have an idea of what to start with. And it's that idea that made me really think, maybe HVAC is the best choice. And then on top of that, we live in Texas and it's hot all the time. And when the AC breaks, they almost lose their mind. They're like, I'll do whatever I got to do to keep it working.
Absolutely.
And that made me feel more like, let's go with this. Let's try it out. So definitely wanted to do that.
So how'd you find your first HVAC job?
That was definitely Shayla. I was spoiled with my previous job at the warehouse where, like I said, I was working. That job was only 4 or 5 minutes away from my house, so I could wake up almost anytime I wanted and just go right to work.
It's time to go to work, time to wake up, all at the same time. Yep.
And it was real cool. And so we're trying to look for places, and they all seemed kind of far. And this was back when, I was not well versed in like how far things are. If it was further than like 5 miles from like my city, Little Farmers Branch, I thought it was far. And so I told her.
And you found out lately Farmers Branch is bigger than you thought.
Yeah. I was definitely like, I did not know it went this far. And I remember telling her like, hey, let's look for places, but don't go crazy. Nothing like 15 minutes to drive. That's too far. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to drive all morning. And then we found Rescuer, and she's like, does that fit your quota? Like, is that what you like? It's only like 17 minutes.
Right at the edge.
Yeah,
right at the edge.
I mean, I guess I'll do it. And so then we're going around, and, there's all these different places. And at first, I kept telling her, like, no, this is too far. This is too close. And it was just me being nervous. I was just nervous to try something new. Like, I already went to school. I already got my license and everything. It was just knowing that eventually I'm going to have to leave my comfort zone and go somewhere I've never been before. And
now hold on. Let's back up. You said you went to school and got your license.
Yes, sir.
What kind of school did you go to?
Tech Zone HVAC R. It was the teacher, his name was Randy, and he was a very, very intelligent man. He definitely taught us a lot. My favorite quote from him was, stop trying to just figure it out. Stop trying to like overthink it. It's like a log. Just roll off. That's all it is. Just roll off the log and just accept it and just kind of take it all in. And sometimes if I'm overwhelmed, I think about it and I just go, you know what? Let's just start fresh and just go from square one and then try to figure out the problem, So that was a very amazing experience. It was really cool. It definitely gave me a wake-up call of, I guess, the kind of people I'm going to work with. You got people that are very serious. It's all business. I'm here to learn. Don't talk to me. You got some kids who are a little on the younger side, and they're definitely like, it's fine. Like, my parents are going to take care of me. Like, who cares if I even do well here or not? So I definitely feel like I had to bring my A game in regards to the more serious aspect. And I'm proud of the fact that not only did I do well, I was the only one that got all passing grades, or at least all A's in the final test. All 5 tests that we had to do at the end, I was the only one that passed all of them. Granted, it was only like 10 students. I'm not saying there was like 100 of us, but it was out of 10, so I felt pretty good.
Work with what you dealt with. Mm-hmm. So how long did you go to school?
I think it was about a 2 to 3 month course,
Okay.
Monday through Thursday, from 7 to 9. And that was because I, at the time I had a full-time job where I had to.
So 7 to 9 at night?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I had to go after work and everything, which definitely panned out pretty well. And I think if there's one thing that I'm going to kick my butt over, is the fact that after I passed, after I got all my license and everything was done, I still didn't even move anywhere until maybe three or 4 months. And that was strictly because I was just nervous and I didn't want to let go of that safe spot, which
is mama and daddy at the house, paying the bills,
exactly,
giving you a bedroom.
Yeah, and working at that warehouse and just kind of like, oh, it's easy. All you got to do is this and this and this. If we leave, we're really gonna have to be on our own here and actually start fresh, new. Like you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna know anybody at this new place. It definitely was a little nerve-wracking, but luckily Shay and I, we decided, like, you know what, like, we're just gonna take a leap of faith and trust in God. Lo and behold, I could be wrong. This is my very first HVAC company.
Isn't that funny?
Right? And lo and behold, I personally feel like I chose the best one that you could have. The moment I went in, even in the interview, was just pure like, this is awesome. Like, I remember all the other companies would, they email me back like, hey, this is good, but we also want this form. We want this form. We need you to fill out this, and then send it back. And Josh just emailed me back like, hey, I like this. Hey, let's meet up tomorrow. How about that? And I'm like, all right, cool. We go there. I'm all dressed up in a button up and everything. Got my hair all slicked back and I'm nervous. And he takes me into his office and he's like, you want some tater tots and chicken nuggets? And I'm like, all right, sounds good. And this was back when, COVID was a big thing. And so we had to order a lot of food for the people in the company so they didn't have to go out and get food. So that's why we had a bunch of ordered food.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am, we're just talking, we're having tater tots and chicken tenders and stuff. And, we talked, and turns out it was only supposed to be a 30-minute interview. And I was there for almost an hour and a half because we just kept talking. It was so much fun. And I think that's when I already knew I was going to like it here. And then once I actually went in, that's when I just fell in love with the people, the community, like the actual company itself. And it felt so genuine, almost like, I don't even know how to explain it. It felt so more genuine than the corporal place I was previously, where, yeah, we had some clicks here and there, but it was clear corporate was corporate and they're not going to be your friend, which, don't get me wrong, we also have to make sure we keep professionalism in the office and make sure that we're not all just buddies, but there definitely is a camaraderie from the smallest guy to top of the food chain. I'll bump into Michael. Here he is, the co-owner of Rescue Air, and he's just looking at me like, hey, so what's up? How you doing? How's the kids, or how's whatever, he genuinely gives a crap. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty cool. It was genuinely pretty cool.
It is.
And they do so much for me. They're very amazing. So
how'd you start out? You walk in, you get a job in HVAC.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know yet whether you're a technician, an installer? Do you know what you're doing? Or
man, dude, that's a whole story in itself. My goodness. So I went in and I told them hey, I want to be a technician. I went to school. I just got off of school. I brought my documents. Look, this is my EPA license. This is my certificate. Whatever you want, I got it. And I told them about my previous job. And again, how I was basically managing the floor and managing all these other adults, I'm
in the warehouse.
Yes. And I was 19 and I'm in charge of 30 and 40-year-olds. And so they were like, wait, so what did you do? And I'm like, well, there's paperwork and, computer stuff here and emails. And so they were like, well, we already have a position open for you for that if you want to try it out. And I told them, I appreciate that, but I think I wanted to start actually in the trade. And then Josh, and at the time his name was Doug, he was the general manager. And, they kind of gave me like, look, man, we want you and we want you a part of us. But right now we need you here. If you can just work with us, we promise we'll make it, we'll make it up to you. We'll make it worth your while. So basically I became the guy that, ordered the jobs, ordered the equipment. I would make sure that I ordered the materials for the warehouse. I would get the equipment from the shop, and then I would go out and drive it to the installers. And then I would have to do the warranty papers and all that stuff. And that was for about almost a year. And I was working with Sebastian Bustamante, who he works with us now, or still. And he's this wicked dude. He's so funny. He's real cool. He definitely is the one that showed me the ropes and showed me like how to get everything done. Very, very happy I got to meet him, because I don't think I would have been able to do it alone. I felt like not only do I not even know anything about the HVAC side, because this is my first, job with HVAC. He was the one that was like, dude, like it's not even hard. Trust me. So we did that, knocked it out of the park. Here and there, I would kind of throw, like, I guess, comments at Josh. I'm like, hey, so when are we going to do that fall class we talked about? He's like, yeah, no, don't worry. We got this. And one day they had an opening where they were going to try to do this, like, I guess, like full-time team for like duct cleanings and stuff like that. And so I'm like, you know what? It's a first step. So let's do that, And so I was in there, and I had a partner, and I can't even remember his name. I think it was Julio. We're working, and this only lasted about 5 days, because by the fifth day on Friday, he was just like, I'm done. I can't do it. I can't take it anymore. And, he only worked with us for about 5 days. He had really good recommendations, but I could already tell, I feel like he wasn't like rescuer material. And by that, I just mean like, he wasn't he wasn't in that camaraderie kind of mindset, By the fifth day, he just kind of looked at me like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, well, what do you mean? We're in the middle of the job. Like, we're literally like cleaning, ductwork and everything. Like, what are you talking about? You don't want to be here. He's like, yeah, would you be mad if I like called an Uber? And I'm like, an Uber? What? And so I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, you do realize we're an hour away from the shop. You're not taking the truck. And if you want, you can call an Uber, but I'm staying here. And that's when I felt very like, man, like I'm really about to be here by myself. And, once I had to call management and tell them what was going on, like, hey, just a heads up, if the customer asks and it's just me, just tell them that the other guy had like a stomach bug or something, so they don't know what's really going on. When they found out that the other guy wanted to leave, it was almost like rescuer sent like the cavalry, because here comes, Blake Kilgo and Jordan Wiggins, like all these like, high big names in the company already. And they were like the high performing techs, and I'm thinking like, dude, what are they doing here?
Right.
And here comes Blake, and he's like, here you go, man. Like, I just came from the gas station. I figured you'd be hungry. I got you some, chips, a hot dog, and like a Gatorade. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this place. It was so cool. And so, we knocked it out, and I'll never forget. I felt bad laughing, but I was kind of like, I mean, you know what I mean? Because Julio never left. He stayed there because he ended up just going, well, I feel bad. I won't leave, but I'll just stay right here. And I'm like, so you're just going to sit right there?
Found out that Uber was going to be $100.
Yeah. And so he's just like, I'll just sit and watch. And so, Blake walks in and he's like, oh, are you the guy that's leaving? And he's like, yeah, my bad, bro. Like, sorry, you're going to have to cover in and do the rest of it. He goes, that's okay, bro. I'm not allergic to work. And I'm just looking at him like, golly. And so, here they are. They're just kind of like, teasing him here and there. But that night, Josh called me, and Josh was kind of like, hey dude, I'm sorry about what happened, and I appreciate that you stuck it out, and you really kind of just, I guess, showed us like loyalty in that kind of aspect. You took a bad situation and did the best you could with it. And I told him, I'm like, look, man, like, throw me a bone basically, and just put me in the install department or something like that, because at the time
I want to do something.
Yeah, and at the time, that's when I started looking at the install department and noticing that camaraderie I was talking about, and that's when I was like, that's what I want. And so that's when I was telling him, like, hey, like, that's kind of what I want to do. And he's just like, man, like, I want to, but like right now, like, everything is so kind of specific right now. I can't really like do much, but talk to me in the morning. And so I went to his office, and he knew about Shayla. Like, he knew that, we've been dating for, I think, like 3 or 4 years at the time. And he's like, so when are you gonna pop the question? You know, I'm just kind of like, well, I have a plan that I'm doing right now. He kind of gave me this look, and he was like, you know what? And he wrote a check, which I'm not gonna say the number, but he wrote a check for me and was like, here, use this when you're ready to buy that ring. And I think that was a moment where I'm like, I'm always gonna be loyal to this place. Like, this is not something that was necessary. This wasn't something that was like, you know, needed, but it's just that like, look, this is what I want to show you, that I'm on your team. It's just that the situation right now, my hands are tied, you know, but just give me a moment and I promise we're going to get to you. And, you know, I think about maybe a couple months after that, that's when I actually got to join the install department, and the rest is history. I just did the best I could and got to work with really amazing people. And now I'm leading my own team, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
And not quite the way you thought it'd go.
Not at all. Not at all.
And it's funny because most people don't want the install job.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hottest job there is.
Oh, yeah.
Longest hours.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your worst day.
Oh, man. Okay. If Michael's listening to this, I hope you listen to the whole story. So basically, we had this guy named Dennis. He was like 2 days in. We're just showing him the ropes. And he's like, this is how you do things here. You know, this is how we install the rescue airway. You know, we're going to make sure everything is good, cross our T's and everything. And so Michael goes, all right, Melvin, are you ready to do your first install? I'm like, oh, I sure am. And he goes, all right, cool, because I sold it. And I'm thinking, oh, man, like, if the owner sold it, then it's got to be like a friggin' slam dunk, you know?
Yeah.
I get there, and I'm hearing, well, we got to wait a day for the diggers to basically do their job. I'm like, what do you mean, the diggers? And he's like, yeah, the dirt removers. I'm like, huh? And he's like, well, we're going to basically dig a giant hole underneath the house, and that's where we're going to put the system at, because the crawl space that, like, I guess the door that opens for that, it's not there yet. We got to make it, and we're just going to dig a hole first. So we basically had to do one complete or one full system in the attic, which that was like not that hard. It was very cool seeing, like, for the first time how it's done. And that one wasn't so bad. It was wondering,
seeing for the first time how it's done, but you're the guy doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So like my partner's like, okay, this is how you do it properly. This is how you do it this way. Like, make sure everything is done right. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I'll never forget where I had to redo the ductwork like 3 times, because he would look at it and go, that's ugly, redo it. And if it wasn't for him, I definitely wouldn't be so like specific about my work now, because if it doesn't look good, it's not worthy to be left alone, you know? That one wasn't bad. It was the other one where
under the house.
Yep.
In the dirt.
Yep. And so we had to remove all the ductwork that was like from the original from the house, because it was a downflow.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically we had to crawl, like army crawl, all around the house and remove all the ductwork. And I didn't even know about wearing masks. I didn't know about goggles yet. So I'm over here just breathing all that insulation all everywhere, and it's not going anywhere. It's just underneath the house.
You bet.
So it's just going in your lungs. So that was a tough day. We had to go in this little bitty cramped spot that, I kid you not, probably from the floor to the bottom of this table, if not maybe a little higher, is how much room we had. There was a small little square hole that we had to crawl inside in order to reach that spot. It wasn't that it was that tough. It was the fact that it started raining. All of a sudden we're working and I'm just covered in mud. It's just the craziest. Like, it won't stop raining. I remember us being under the house, and I can literally see our only exit is just getting flooded in. And I'm watching it. I'm looking at Dennis. I'm like, so we're just going to stay. We're just going to stay here. And he's like, yeah. I mean, you like swimming, right? And I'm like, dude, what? And I'm watching our exit get smaller and smaller as time goes on. And it wasn't until it was like 12 in the morning, because at the time the homeowners didn't live there. They were still basically renovating the house. Mm-hmm. So technically we were allowed to stay as late as we wanted.
Right.
That job took us almost like 3 days, and each day was up until midnight. And I remember being under the house and just hearing like just like thunder and everything. And he looked at me like, oh, it's fine. And so we heard this loud boom. And that's when we looked at each other and we're like, all right, let's go ahead and get out of here. And the next day we come back and our hole is just flooded. Like, there is no opening. You have to literally go submerge underwater, come back from the water, and then there's your spot to start installing. So we literally had to go find a pump it out, and then just work all on that mud all day for the next 2 days. And it was just insane. I still have pictures because I'm never going to forget that job. I was so happy that I was even doing this job, that I was covered in mud, and the homeowner came by just to, check on things. And, here she is, see me all like covered in mud and sweat and everything. And she's like, how's everything going? I'm like, oh, it's great. Hey, not a problem. Happy to be here. Michael the next day, he's like, oh, how's that job going? Is everything going well? And I didn't have the heart to tell him that it was miserable. So I was like, it's great. It's going great. No problems at all. So it was pretty cool. Well, yeah, it was something. It was something. You can only go up from there, though. So, yeah.
What makes you want to be great every day?
My dad and my mom, because they had me at such a young age, and so they basically had to bust their butt to be able to provide for the house. So best way to do that is to be the best in their field. So my mom and my dad end up becoming basically like the managers in their field.
So what do they do?
My dad at the time, he was basically what I was doing at the warehouse, where he was kind of like the head honcho, except for him, he would be loading and unloading washers and dryers. But he had his own team where he would have to watch on them, call on them, check and see how they're doing, while he also ran his own calls, which is why growing up, Dad was like this hulking beast of a man, because he would pick up washers and dryers up and down stairs. But, it kind of wore him down. So, I mean, he's like 40, but he's kind of moving like he's 60. But, man, you wouldn't know it. He's still got that frame going. And then Mom, she's working with dentistry, kind of like the nurse, I guess you can say, but like for dentistry.
Okay.
And so she's helping moving things along, and seeing that made me kind of go, okay, maybe I want to be the best of what I do, or at least do my best. Maybe I'm not the best, but they'll know that I always do my best when I get a job or whatever I do. My dad used to always tell me, work like you're working for the Lord, as if he's watching you. Don't try to do the easy way out. Don't try to just be like, oh, I don't know, I didn't see it. So do it right the first time, which is actually one of our mottos at work. So do it right the first time, so you don't have to come back and you don't have to worry about something later on breaking or anything like that. So definitely has that to do with it. So.
I love that. What would you recommend to somebody coming out of high school that thinks they want to get into HVAC?
I would ask them, and this is such a good question, because this is a conversation that me and Shayla have talked a lot about. She is 100% determined that she wants, our kids to go to college and try it out, because she went to college, and, she had an amazing time at college, because she got to see like the beauty of it and everything, whether it was community college and also a university, because she went to Women's University.
TWU.
Yeah. I remember driving her all the time over there, or I'd get to go see her, and it was really awesome. And she just always seemed like radiant, like this is what she was meant to do. Then you got other friends who told me the opposite story, where they literally had to use so much of their check to basically pay for schooling and stuff. And my buddy, he would go to school, but he had to pay for classes while he was at school. And, it was so hard for him. He told me, he was like, Melvin, it was kind of hard back in those days, because I would literally go home without eating and try to go to sleep. And I can't sleep because I'm hungry. And then I can't sleep, so that means I'm doing bad in school, which means I'm failing. And if I fail, I owe more money. And if I owe more money, I got to pay for that. Can't eat, can't sleep. And then here we go again and again and again. And so that definitely gave me I wouldn't say fear, but it definitely gave me maybe this isn't something we should just casually push on our kids if they either don't want to or they're not super into it. So, I always told Shayla that if they say they want to go to school, I would at least ask, is there something they feel passionate about enough to get that education for? And if that's a yes, and I'm 100% behind going for it, But if you're still not sure, kind of like me, if you're still not sure, but you want to do something, learn a trade. Doesn't have to be mine, but learn something.
Plumbing's the best trade.
Yeah, we're on your show. So just kidding.
And I always ask about that, because I don't think most kids want to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
They've been in school for 12 years. They're like, dude, look, I'm ready to get out and do something.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of parents send their kids to college and say, well, look, they'll go to college and they'll figure out what they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? don't let them go to college. Let them become a plumber for a summer, an HVAC tech, an electrician, a roofer. It really doesn't matter. Then after that summer, and that's what I did with my little brother. And my little brother went to work for me for a summer, and I worked his tail off. And he said, I want to go to college. I don't want to do this all the time. But it was good. And he's a smart kid, so it was really good. And he went and got a degree in microbiology and marketing.
Oh, wow.
Never used any of it, but now he's a vice president of IT. So he's learned other things. He's done really, really well. But letting kids walk out of high school and make up their own mind. If they know they want to go to college, man, great. Help them out every way you can, or try to talk them out of it because of all the student debt.
Bruh.
Well, I mean, think about it. How long have you been doing HVAC now?
This would be, I want to say like my third year now, third or fourth year doing.
Third year.
Yeah.
Okay. If you went to college, you'd still be in college.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's the best year you've had so far? Ballpark. Doesn't have to be exact. If you're enjoying the Trade Talks, hit that subscribe or follow button, which helps us produce this awesome blue-collar content absolutely free. And now, back to the episode.
I think the best year was probably my second year as an installer because I was still under someone's lead. And so I didn't have all this pressure of having to make sure like everything is done, a certain way. I could trust that my lead is basically overwatching everything,
Okay.
So that pressure wasn't always on me, but just that feeling of constantly learning still and that feeling of constantly improving, it was so exciting because I remember I know this sounds like, extra, and I'm not trying to sound like, oh, really now? But I really did feel this way. I would go to bed excited for the job in the morning because all I could think of was, man, I'm going to do even better and make my lead, probably go, oh, man, this guy's got good real quick,
That's such a great attitude.
You know what I mean?
It
It's so exciting, and I'm pretty sure that's what I feel with the new guys now, like Austin and Jose and, Justin. They have that same, who are coworkers, if you're listening to this, they come to work and that's all I hear from them. And literally it makes me so excited to see them grow. And it makes me so excited to see them come to work because I'd like to think that I'm an early bird, at least in our department, I'm always like one of the first ones there, opening and cleaning and everything. And I remember waking up at like 5:30 or anything like that, just so I can be at the shop almost an hour before we have to get everything ready. So I'm already ready to roll and we're good to go. And then the new guys came in and I guess I got comfortable and I'm like, you know what? I know what I need to do. I know what needs to get taken care of.
Sleep in a little bit.
Yeah. Like, you know what? Like we've been here long enough. We know how to set it up without overdoing it. I come to work and now I got the younger guys beating me. I got the newer guys before I am. And I'm like, oh man, like that's crazy. Like, I used to be there, and that's so wild. Like, God. And
I like that.
It's so cool seeing that. And so seeing that drive in them and seeing that kind of like outlook they have, that's what I want for my kid.
Okay.
And that's what makes me kind of like, well, if they don't know what they want to do, at the very least, I want that instilled in them. I want them to feel that. And if they decide after like a summer, like I said, or like you said, work them real hard in the summer, and then they'll know whether they're bred for it or not. Because I feel like I had a coworker once tell me when I first started, because it was real rough. Like you said, it's hot, it's exhausting. You feel like you literally got into like a fight every day because you're doing all this heavy labor. And he told me, he was like, if you're nervous of whether or not you can handle this, just know after 30 days, you'll know whether you're going to be here or not. And if you stay longer than that, you're good. But if you can't handle this anymore after that, that's when you're just not really like meant to be here.
Okay.
And that's what I'll see with my kid. If they say, you know what, Dad, this was fun, this was cool, I appreciate the experience, but I think I actually do want to try this now, or I want to go this route, which if they do, that's amazing. I'm 100% for it. If they find out they love it, then I'll be more than happy to make them grow.
You bet. What kind of money do you make a year right now? Ballpark,
for sure 6 figures. I know for sure this month I already broke 6 figures.
So we're in early November.
Yeah.
And you've already broke six figures for the year.
Yeah. And that's because, and again, this was a slow year. Last year, I think it was around, way earlier when that happened,
You bet.
And, had this year been booming the way it was last year, I know for a fact I'd be further, but, it's okay. I mean, God blessed me with this amount still. Like, that's still not something to scoff at.
No, I love that. And here's where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd have gone to college, you'd still be in college.
Oh, yeah.
Six figures last year, six figures this year.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop and save there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've got another year, maybe another year, so it could be $300,000-$400,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But $200,000 over 4 years. Let's call it 4 years.
Yeah.
If you were in college, you just spent $50,000 to $100,000
Yeah.
in student debt.
Mm-hmm.
These kids that are going to college, when they get out, do you think they're going to make $100,000 a year to start out?
Man, you got to be in that top field, I think.
Yeah, you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, and even that, you're not. You're going to make $70,000 starting out.
That psychology degree may not be so helpful. I don't know.
But I mean, seriously though, think about this.
Yeah.
They go to school. I think most college graduates get out making about $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
Can you live on $50,000 a year right now?
No, not even close. That's what's scary though, is that no one is really like, I don't want to say that no one's understanding that, but like, you're right, like that's not really livable anymore. And here we are with, people who have,
and it is livable.
Yeah.
People do it.
Yeah.
$50,000 is a decent wage.
Mm-hmm.
But after 4 years of college,
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
man,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to start out at $50,000 and then they're going to get 3 to 5% raise each year, $1,500 a year for a raise
Yeah.
over the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now they'll get up to $65,000. They're never going to catch up.
Yeah. This is literally like I said, my third year of installing, not just at the company, but like, installing. And I think it was literally my second year is when I actually broke six figures, which is crazy because growing up, I used to think that I'd have to be like in my 30s before I saw something like that,
How old are you?
I'm about to be 25 next month. So
Is that not funny?
it's mind-boggling. It really is. Like, sometimes I still can't grasp it. And it's just one of those things that I'm like, I can't believe we're here. Like, I don't know. God is good, man. It's so mind-boggling. And then I only tell Shayla this. I don't like telling, like my parents this, because obviously you're not supposed to just, hey, look, this is what I did. But I'll tell her, and sometimes I guess I'm used to seeing like a certain number on the checks and everything. So eventually it gets kind of repetitive, and I'm like, oh, it's normal. And then I'll tell her like, oh, actually, like, next month we're going to be around here now. And she'll look at me like, that's literally insane.
What's the biggest check you've ever brought?
I think the biggest check I ever brought was when me and my partner, we worked, I think like 6 or 7 days in the week and for 2 weeks. And it was pretty good jobs. And I think it was around like $5,200 or something like that.
So $2,500 a week.
Yeah. It was one of those like, wow, like we're here. Like we did this, It was very insane. And I remember when I was still like in the office and I was talking to the old installers who were there, and they'd be like, oh yeah, this is what I did this month and this is how much I made. And I always thought they were just like joking or
blowing smoke.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, no one really does that.
Sure you did.
And then I'm here and I'm like, oh my God, they were not kidding. Like it's insane. Still can't really believe it sometimes.
So you've got one of the hardest jobs in the trades. I mean, to be honest, you're up in hot attics.
Mm-hmm.
Or cold attics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's either icy cold or burning hot, one of the
Yep.
And you still smile and laugh about it every day.
Yeah.
It's not a bad gig, is it?
It's not. I think once you kind of get over it, it's like I said, it really is like your partner. You look at him and he looks at you and you're kind of like, this sucks, huh? And you're like, yeah, it does, but it's cool because we're gonna knock this out and then we'll get out of here. And so it's cool. As long as you have that mindset, you're gonna be okay. If you can laugh it off, dude, you're fine.
That helps a lot.
Yeah, I've had customers tell me like, "Are y'all really working?" Because they'll hear me laughing, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." Like he's saying funny stuff up here, and next thing I know, we're already done, and so it's pretty cool.
Somebody walks out of high school and gets in the trades,
mm-hmm.
and you said, if you can make it 30 days, you're gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you recommend if they wanted to get into HVAC? Get in as a technician, get in as an installer. Mm-hmm. Get in and sweep the floors in the warehouse. What?
Genuinely, I would say as much as you would want to start as an installer, I personally feel like it would be more helpful if you started as a parts runner first, because that way you'll really learn the equipment, and to a degree that once you're installing it, you're like, I already know what this is. I already know where this goes. I already know how they kind of go as a combo. The only thing left is when you're installing it is you're just going to know how to put it together and what they do,
How they all tie together.
Exactly. When I first started Rescue Air, again, I came from school and I thought, you know what, I know everything already. I'm fine. I already know everything. It's all up in here. They started me as the parts runner and the computer guy, and I never realized how much I didn't know. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until I finished doing that is when I finally got into the install department. I'm like, oh, I really didn't know as much as I thought I did. And now I'm here for it. And as part of the parts runner, you're not just driving little stuff here and there, like a capacitor or something. You're driving ginormous pieces of equipment sometimes. And sometimes you don't have a partner. It's just you. And so you have to be used to that manual labor of lifting all that stuff on your own. That kind of gives you an idea of what you're doing in the attic, I think once you're kind of you know what, I feel like I got this down, I'm past it, Then once after that, I think I would recommend to go into the install department. You'll be able to put it together and know how everything works and know how everything kind of comes together. And after a while, you'll go back to a couple of a couple of callbacks, or maybe you'll go help out the technicians a little bit and figure out why equipment's not working, or new or old, you'll figure out what's going wrong with it, And slowly but surely, you'll build more knowledge to the point where if you decide to be a technician, now you've done it all. You got the physical training for it. You got the mental training. You got the actual knowledge of knowing what it is. At that point, there's nothing stopping you from being an awesome technician. For us installers, we're kind of oh, this is the problem. This is what we need to do to replace it and fix it. We can do it right now. We'll just do it. I feel like when I first started as an installer, I was there for a little bit, and then I was kind of put into the tech department just for a little bit to kind of help out. And that's when I realized I really didn't know very much that I thought. And it was pretty difficult because I didn't know much more of a deeper aspect of that on that education. And so it was a lot tougher. But hypothetically, let's say I go tomorrow back to the tech department, I could definitely run it a lot better than I ever did last time, because now I know where to look. Now I know where to really kind of place my hand and everything if I need to. And so it's definitely something I would recommend. If they're going to start off with parts running, and then installing, and then technician. But if you're going to do it for a summer and just to kind of test the waters, definitely go install. You might as well just start there and get it done.
Get hot, get dirty.
Yeah. But if you're going to try to start for a career, then for sure I would be you know what, know the equipment first and then do that. But if you're going to be here for a little bit, you might as well just go in and go out.
So what's next for Melvin?
So
how do you move up? How do you grow?
I think I've decided to just kind of let things happen, because for several times now within this year, last year, I told myself, okay, this is the goal. This is what we're going to do. And I end up getting pushed into another direction just by chance. And I think at this point, what I'm thinking is just do your best on everything you do. And then whatever happens after that, just go with it. So, for example, let's say in about a year or two, they go, you know what, Melvin, we like you here, but maybe we can go this direction, and instead of fighting it, I'll be well, you know what, maybe this is the right choice, and let's just try it out and go from there. And then, for example, we got a guy named Jeff Payne, who he did installing in HVAC. I think he learned it from the military when he was doing it over there. And then he came over here, he was doing it, working really hard. And then after that, he was well, let's try technician for a little bit. And he got really good. And after that, he became a salesman. And now he's one of our top performers. I think he's gotten top performer every month now, and he's doing very
well.
Hammer
Joe.
Exactly. And so,
Or Roman.
yeah, Roman is something else. He's pretty cool. But yeah, like I didn't know he actually had like install background. I thought he was just always a salesman, just from the way he carried himself and how knowledgeable he was and how good he is with like numbers. I would have never guessed he was an installer before. And knowing that, it's kind of cool because in my head, I'm like, well, you know what? What's stopping me from doing that? Like maybe I can do this for a little bit longer and then just keep moving up and then go from there.
So I think you can.
So it's very exciting.
Go back to the very first day that you're walking out to go to HVAC school, but you know everything you know now.
Oh man,
you get to stop and talk to little Melvin as he comes out of the house. What would you tell him?
Right, and this is right after like HVAC school and like
no, you're walking out to go to HVAC school the first time. You've never worked a day in the trades at all, but you know everything you know now, and you get to be standing there when little Melvin comes out. What would you tell him?
Take everything in as much as possible and just literally just, have the best mindset on it. Be as positive as you can. But I would definitely tell him to stop holding back. Stop trying to worry about this. Don't worry about that. Just trust in the big guy is going to take care of you, and just trust in yourself. Like, I think if that's one thing I've learned is that literally just trust yourself. And if you do the best you can, that's all anyone can ask for. Me being nervous of failing stopped me from what could have been a very educating and jumpstart. Those 3 or 4 months that I held back and just kind of stayed in my other place, I think that could have really helped me gone higher than I am right now. That 4 months of just solid extra help, extra training, extra just experience really could have helped me out. And I think that fear of failure is always what stops people from really just going for it. And if there's one thing I could tell them is just literally stop holding back. Just go full throttle.
Now, I want you to say that again in Spanish. I want you to say, if I could talk to myself the day I walked out of the house before I started in the trades, this is what I would say, and then do it all again in Spanish.
So, if I could speak Spanish, I would have said that. But I tried.
Come on.
If si puedo hacer el todo otra vez, something like that.
That's as good as your Spanish is, man. Come on.
I'm sorry about that, man.
Yo hablo español muy bueno. I say muy un poquito. See, man, I thought I had something good going on there.
That was good.
It was.
Dang, now I feel bad.
The more alcohol I drink, the better my Spanish gets, too, I promise.
Oh, man, Mom was right. I should have just kept learning Spanish.
Should have. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
This is going to be a big old bomb at the end of the video. What's he going to say?
I know.
All right, there you go.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. No, this has been great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
for having me.
All right, brother.